A plane carrying a group of strangers crash lands in the middle of a swamp full of drug-poisoned alligators, and only the biology student on board actually knows how to survive it. We open at a hidden lab deep in a swamp, mass-producing an illegal drug, right as a DEA strike team storms in and a firefight erupts amid the chaos. A worker dumps a container of chemicals to destroy evidence, and the toxic runoff flows straight into the river, where the local alligators absorb it and turn violently aggressive, setting the entire premise of the film in motion. We meet our lead, a biology student named Kyle, sitting in a class discussing apex predators while an alligator conveniently fills the screen behind her. Afterwards, she meets up with her close friend Alice to prepare for a trip meant to scatter the ashes of her late older brother, Jamie. Her mood sours the moment she spots who else is coming along: Malika and Sam, neither of whom rank anywhere near her favorite people, for reasons that become obvious soon enough. Once the group settles into their hotel, Alice gently suggests it's time for Kyle to start moving on from her brother's death, a comment that instantly sets Kyle off, storming away and insisting people stop telling her how to grieve alone. Outside, she rewatches an old video of Jamie encouraging her to actually live life, tearing up over the memory of their once close bond. The next morning, Malika wakes everyone with a megaphone to resume the road trip. At a gas station stop, Kyle notices newspaper headlines about a string of recent alligator attacks and overhears an odd old man laughing while mentioning a massive scarred gator by name, a clear sign of what's coming later. The group arrives at a private airport, and Kyle is blindsided to learn Malika arranged a private flight instead, completely disregarding her fear of flying. Things only get worse once they meet their visibly drunk pilot, Frank, who casually ignores basic smoking rules on board, making it painfully obvious this flight is a bad idea. Despite nearly backing out, Kyle stubbornly insists they go through with it anyway, mostly out of spite. Once airborne, a businessman named Rufus refuses to end a loud phone call despite everyone's complaints, and when another passenger tries confronting him directly, things spiral fast. The plane suddenly malfunctions, forcing Frank into an emergency landing right in the middle of the very same swamp from the opening scene, crash landing into the river and leaving the survivors to drag themselves painfully onto dry land. The aftermath is brutal. Zoe is badly injured on her arm, Maud has lost her husband in the crash, and the co-pilot Ray is missing entirely. Rather than falling apart, Kyle springs into action, helping Frank apply first aid to Zoe and fashioning a tourniquet out of Sam's belt to stop the bleeding. Frank calls out for Ray repeatedly with no response, and Alice suggests simply waiting for rescue, though that's not realistic since Frank had been flying entirely off the books, meaning no one even knows they're missing, let alone stranded deep in the country's largest wetlands. After debating their options, the group agrees their only real choice is to start walking north. As they gather supplies, Alice wanders off separately and discovers a nest full of alligator eggs. Meanwhile, Zoe spots someone in the water, revealed to be the missing Ray, and Frank, Sam, and Kyle rush to help, only for an alligator to drag him under and devour him before they can reach him. Shaken, Kyle urges the group to get moving immediately.
We gotta get out of here.
A quick cut back to the nest shows only one egg remaining, implying Alice quietly took the rest for herself. That night, exhaustion forces the group to stop when Maud can't continue, and Malika makes a cruel remark about her weight, later mocking Kyle for suddenly acting like a wildlife expert when she picks the campsite location. Thankfully, the rest of the group backs Kyle up, acknowledging she's clearly the most qualified to lead, and they settle in for the night while sneaking off to relieve himself. Rufus's phone rings and slips from his grip, and the moment he bends to retrieve it, an alligator crushes his skull instantly. The next morning, the group discovers Rufus's body, and Kyle points out how unusual it is for alligators to actively hunt people this way. Frank explains rumors of increasingly aggressive gator behavior throughout the area, including one particularly massive, scarred individual locals have nicknamed Christina. Spotting a distant cabin that could offer a good vantage point, the group heads that direction, only to be ambushed by several gators lurking in the vegetation along the way. Before they can even strategize, one drags Maud away entirely, sending the rest of the group sprinting desperately for the cabin. Just as Zoe reaches the door, a gator bites into her leg, and the group struggles to force the door shut against another animal, ramming its head into it repeatedly, all while Malika inexplicably kicks a nearby wall for no clear reason. Eventually, the predators retreat. That night, Kyle finally dreams the truth about her brother's death, revealing Jamie died attempting to stop a gas station robbery, shot by the perpetrators in the process. The next day, Sam finds a map inside the cabin, marking a building 4 miles away, though reaching it requires crossing a river. Malika pushes to stay put where it's safer, but Kyle counters that they have no food, no way to call for rescue, and Zoe urgently needs real medical care. Malika lashes out, personally instead blaming Kyle for Jamie's death, and even trying to take his ashes from her, prompting Frank to intervene and call for a vote, with the majority choosing to push forward and take the risk. After Kyle briefs everyone on proper gator encounter protocol, the group sets out with Zoe nearly collapsing from exhaustion. Along the way, before her boyfriend Dom talks her through it, while Malika unhelpfully suggests just leaving her behind entirely. Once they reach the river, Kyle proposes building a raft to ride the current toward their destination faster, reasoning that the gators, sluggish in the heat, should stay submerged just long enough for them to work. Despite Malika's objections, the rest of the group agrees and gets moving. While the men gather logs, Alice senses something lurking nearby and cautiously investigates, coming face to face with an alligator and managing to stab it just in time to survive the encounter, reuniting with the group right as the raft is finished. As everyone climbs aboard, Sam dashes back for the bag containing Jamie's ashes, right as 2 more gators start closing in on them. With the danger closing in, Zoe suddenly grows quiet and distant, looking at Dom and telling him she loves him, in a way that feels final because it is. She slips off the raft and into the water, sacrificing herself to create a distraction that lets the others paddle to safety, leaving a devastated Dom in stunned silence for the rest of the ride. The group finally reaches their destination in total silence. The very same lab from the opening scene, now abandoned. Frank spots scattered bullet casings and warns everyone to stay quiet and move carefully, suspecting people might still be inside. Malika ignores him completely, shouting into the building and unknowingly waking several sleeping alligators hidden within. As they explore deeper, they find blood everywhere, raising questions about what else might have happened there beyond the original raid. Frank decides the group should split up to cover more ground, deliberately pairing himself with Malika and sending Alice off separately. Meanwhile, Dom, Kyle, and Sam discover the chemical stockpile, letting Kyle finally piece together that the alligator's aggression stems directly from ingesting these substances, and they find an injured lab worker nearby. Elsewhere, Frank finally snaps at Malika, comparing her to people he encountered during his military service, who betray others without hesitation, and shoves her off a railing in fury, though she manages to cling on desperately, tearfully apologizing and promising to change. While Frank waits for her grip to fail, a moment of guilt washes over him, just as a massive alligator looms above, seizing and dragging him away entirely before he can process what he's just done. Kyle and the others arrive just in time to pull Malika to safety, and through tears, she finally apologizes sincerely to Kyle, admitting she misses Jamie too, and vowing to do better going forward. As the group presses on, a door slams shut behind them, forcing them to keep moving ahead. Switching on the lights reveals a room full of sleeping alligators, blocking their only path forward, requiring them to sneak past as quietly as possible. Kyle leads by example, successfully tiptoeing through undetected, with Dom following her lead successfully as well, while Kyle tests a radio in the next room, hoping to call for help. Sam is still attempting his own crossing, tripping over a twig and falling loudly enough to wake the largest gator in the room, which instantly bites his head clean off. Ironically, the radio crackles to life moments later, and a panicked Kyle manages to call for help, despite not knowing their exact location, receiving a promise of rescue before the signal cuts out as the power fails entirely. Kyle grabs whatever weapons she can find before the group moves into another room, coming face to face with the massive, scarred alligator known as Christina. Alice foolishly approaches the creature, holding out the stolen eggs, apparently hoping it might calm her down, while Kyle aims a gun and waits for a clear shot, Predictably, the gamble fails horribly, and Christina clamps down on Alice's outstretched arm. Panicking, Kyle drops the weapon instead of firing, only finding her opening once Alice gets thrown clear, closing her eyes and somehow still landing the shot anyway. Malika and Dom rush to help Alice, while the distracted Gator gives the others a chance to escape through the door, though Kyle stays behind, continuing to miss her shots as Christina charges her. Kyle slides beneath it, grabs a nearby machete, and stabs it directly in the eye. Still barely phased, the massive Gator flings Kyle aside near the exit anyway. Getting back up, she spills a container of flammable chemicals across the floor and sets the entire room ablaze, burning the creature alive as the others return, just in time to witness Christina's fiery demise. Together outside, rescue finally arrives in the form of a helicopter. Sometime later, Kyle finally scatters her brother's ashes and works up the courage to ride a motorcycle herself, honoring his memory at last. Just when it seems like a fitting ending, the film cuts back to the abandoned factory, revealing Frank, somehow still alive, laughing maniacally to himself, leaving the audience questioning whether everything that happened was part of his plan all along.